Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're having an absolutely fantastic day. Ledger has recently announced the launch of their Ledger crypto wallets in a series of brand new colors. I myself use Ledger and have been using them for a number of years because I find the hardware wallet extremely easy and simple to use. While I do not work for Ledger, I am an affiliate, and I have an affiliate link in the description below for those of you who are looking to secure their cryptocurrencies. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. It says a prominent analytics firm says that BlackRock's Bitcoin Spot Bitcoin ETF exchange traded fund application is pushing US-based entities to accumulate more Bitcoin. Over the last couple of years, we have had a sizable amount of companies outside of the cryptocurrency space who have made sure to let us know that they are in the cryptocurrency space. It's still, for some reason, at a certain point in time, begins to be like, the word's not magical, but people are constantly surprised when we hear that these companies are in the cryptocurrency space or have been accumulating Bitcoin over the last couple of years. If you have been with this channel for a while, you know the time frame is actually since 2014 to 2017 was the beginning of these larger institutions beginning to accumulate. However, on top of the news that we've been getting that BlackRock, the largest company, entity, anything on the planet, with 11 trillion, that's trillion with a T, dollars in assets under management, has officially gotten into the space. We now see more companies who are beginning to buy and accumulate Bitcoin openly, or even those who we saw before. Some of them, we know their cryptocurrency wallets. We don't know the password, but we know that they have a wallet. This is why a lot of times you can see if Binance or Coinbase or etc. is moving their coins around to another wallet, we'll get like an indication that it's actually taking place. Glassnode has noted that the share of Bitcoin supply held and traded by U.S. entities is witnessing a significant rise since BlackRock, the world's largest investment firm with over $10 trillion in assets under management, filed for a Bitcoin ETF last month. It feels like this has been years ago at this point, how prominently that BlackRock has actually been in the news about their Bitcoin ETF filing. I have seen, and you've seen it as well, over the last couple of weeks, Bitcoin's price hasn't been pumping as much as one would logically assume after we got news that BlackRock even thought about like touching it with their toes. I expected we'd be roughly around a $35,000 to $38,000 Bitcoin, just based off of the news that we know is true, that BlackRock is actively buying, and we can only assume mining Bitcoin as well. I don't assume when you have $11 trillion under your belt that you're not like willing to throw $25 million into a venture to be able to mine some Bitcoin on the side. But, you know, I digress. And as we get news, and I dare even sprinkle this on the topic, as we continue to get amazing news within the cryptocurrency space, as in every day, regardless of what day it actually is, there's always some type of accumulation news, whale news, buying news. This is amazing. This update, this upgrade, this is happening. Bitcoin just did this. Bitcoin has 9 bajillion million transactions on it since the beginning of time, and all these other things. The price still, like much of the wider cryptocurrency market, especially on the heels of the news that interest rates are going to be rising again within the United States, and therefore probably within Europe as well, and many other places around the world. I question how people within crypto, people who have been in the market for a while, who have gone through multiple market cycles, who have been with Bitcoin or buying Bitcoin since 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, kind of still question what's happening. Years ago, it was, I mean, taboo's not the word, to announced that you were openly into crypto as an individual or a company, you seemed relatively insane. What's the other company? Overstock. This was like 2014, 2015. They announced that they were getting into Bitcoin. You could use Bitcoin to buy stuff on their platform. And the amount of banks and entities who like literally made fun of them. It's the worst mistake ever. What are they doing? No one's even using it. Oh, they only got $11 worth of Bitcoin transactions the day before. It's like extremely weird. So to be in a reality where being into Bitcoin is no longer taboo, every time I meet new people, I try to, I throw a little something out there and I mention to people, or I joke about Bitcoin, or I say something along the lines of like, oh, well, he should have gotten Bitcoin years ago. Oh, it would be cool if I can buy, these little things you kind of throw out there. And I notice that everyone understands that Bitcoin is valuable. But we still are in this pseudo space where even like people in the market who've been here for a long time are still like relatively insecure knowing all these things. Like we know that, or rather, I'll say it from me. I personally know that Bitcoin is going to be with us for at least another 100 years. This is the way that it kind of seems. We will have cryptocurrencies for a long time. But I know a lot of people who stopped buying everything, seeing that prices are low. And these are people who've gone through market cycles before. When prices are down, such as now, they're not accumulating because the market's not exciting for them. So I was chatting with someone and I said, would you rather Bitcoin move up from 30,000 to 45,000? Then it gets a bit more exciting. And they say, yeah, they'd be more inclined to buy. And I was like, but you see that it's been at 30,000 for a while. Why not buy now if you have the expectation that Bitcoin is going to move up again in the future? They want kind of like a FOMO-esque feeling to wash over them and everyone else that they know. And then that seems to be the point when they're comfortable once again actually getting or buying once again into the market. Because these people buy feverishly when the market is pumping over the course of a year and a half, but don't buy during the year and a half, 2-year period of when prices are going down and or not moving. It is a very interesting psychological thing that tends to happen within our market. No U.S. Bitcoin spot ETF application has ever been approved by the U.S. SEC because of high levels of corruption. Despite submissions from Grayscale, Van Eck, and Cathie Wood's ARK Invest, for those of you who missed it as well, this is a little, here's a piece of information. You know how we have, it's BlackRock, Fidelity, it's not Grayscale, and there's, I think, the CBOE and 2 other companies filed nearly back to back behind each other after Grayscale filed about a month and some change ago. Cathie Wood came out and said that her or their for ARK Invest application is supposed to be looked at right before Grayscale. I mean, before BlackRock. So Cathie Wood, that's for those of you who don't know her, she's the woman who's constantly buying Coinbase stock like every single day. For some reason, she thinks that Coinbase's stock is going to be like the end all for finance. She keeps saying like people aren't paying attention. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, it goes up by 19% when the cryptocurrency market, certain coins can go up by thousands of percent. Coinbase's stock doesn't tickle my fancy per se. She was saying a couple of weeks ago, and she believes that, this is her belief, that if BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF application is to be let through, that ARK Invest's Bitcoin ETF would be the first one, and therefore they would have the first green light within the US. I try to be nice, but it seems like hyper delusion. But if she does get it, then kudos to her. I'll give her a little golf clap and all that other stuff. But I don't feel, if the US SEC has rejected every single Bitcoin ETF over the last 9 to 10 years, I feel like ARK Invest would probably not be at the top of their list to get an actual Bitcoin ETF, but you know, sure. Glassnode shared a chart showing a surge in the supply of Bitcoin held, or traded by U.S. investors, while Asian-based market participants appear to be distributing their Bitcoin stacks. That is to say, moving them around. And there are also, you've seen the maps before. If you haven't, you can easily Google them. There are places around the world, obviously, where some cryptocurrencies are far more popular than others. And a lot of countries, it appears mathematically, prefer Ethereum. Some of them prefer to invest heavily into Cardano. Some prefer to invest heavily in Shiba Inu over Dogecoin. Some prefer XRP. So this is kind of the thing as well. They said, and I quote, following the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF request announcement on the 15th of June, the share of Bitcoin supply held and traded by U.S. entities has experienced a notable uptick, marking a potential inflection point in supply dominance if the trend is sustained. And then they have a little pretty chart here. It's like numbers and lines, and there's like blue lines and pink lines, and then you see it goes down and it goes, whee, and it starts going back up as well. Yeah, so once again, we have, if you have been following any of the videos on this channel for the past like month, there's a dramatic amount of optimism within the cryptocurrency market that Bitcoin is about to do something crazy. We saw something, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. People are predicting that in August, Bitcoin's going to rise by 35%. We're getting all these other news stories that XRP is about to do something crazy. Ethereum's going to, I think the craziest one that we saw was that by the end of this year, Ethereum would be $8,000. And then I have gigantic like question marks over my head where I'm like, well, what does that mean for next year? What does that mean for 2025? How high could prices be? That's the apparently. I mean, this is weird. We've never had news like this before, that rich people are buying up all the Bitcoin as prices remain stagnant news. And yeah, let's move on. Also okay, well, you know, at least they're trying. Once again in the news, U.S. Senators Cynthia Lummis, I'll say Lummis. I've never heard it out loud. And Christian Gillibrand are set to introduce a revised version of a cryptocurrency regulation bill to establish a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital asset transactions and stablecoin issuance. We are now currently in a post-near-esque XRP, SEC, Ripple ruling kind of world where everyone is now trying to figure out a way to get proper cryptocurrency regulations. If you haven't been keeping up with it, it's fine. You know, I totally get it. But on Twitter, where most of the internal everything fighting happens, a lot of people have now been calling on or calling against the SEC, telling them you lost the lawsuit, therefore give us some type of proper cryptocurrency regulations. The US SEC announced a couple of months ago that they think, the SEC, that it'll take around 3 to 5 years to properly give cryptocurrency regulations. This is a complete lie. Why? Because other countries have announced before, hey, it's March, we're going to give you regulation by July. And guess what? July happened and they have cryptocurrency regulation. It does not take 3 to 5 years to write on a piece of paper that you're basically going to, air quotes, regulate the market similar to the banking system that the US currently has. So we have a bunch of people, and no, it's not a bunch. A light handful, maybe 2 handfuls, I'm not sure, of senators and congressional people within the United States who are now trying to push forth some kind of cryptocurrency regulation, in that they're like, please, do something. We need some kind of crypto bill, crypto thing for a framework within the United States. Many of these have been proposed and many of them have been pushed forth, but none of them have actually gone through. The news that we've been getting for a while is that apparently no one Not one person actually likes Gary Gensler. And I've made jokes before, like, I wonder what it's like working in an office with him. It has to be, really awkward and terrible when we know that everyone kind of hates you. But now it's gotten to the point where we have like politicians who are actively stepping forward to make sure or to try to propose that the SEC has no power at all within the cryptocurrency space, and that power actually lies within the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, who announced thousands of years ago, back in the year like one, that they don't really consider any coins to be a security. They want to regulate them, but under the umbrella of being commodities similar to gold and silver and soybeans, etc. And therefore, they'd have a more light touch when it came to regulation. But we also found out years ago that apparently the SEC, I think, has like 8 or 9 times the amount of funding as the CFTC does. And this is why we keep seeing the SEC throwing their weight around, because they know that they have the money behind them. The revised version advocates treating cryptocurrencies as commodities, expanding the CFTC's powers and imposing stricter regulation on stablecoin issuers. This is because we are in the future now, and countries are trying to digitize their fiat currencies. Have you seen? There was a story a couple of months ago. They were talking about how many, for lack of a better term, bank robberies, Nordic countries, that is to say Denmark, Norway, Sweden, were having over the last couple of years. There was a chart. 1 year they had 27, 1 year they had 15, 1 year they had 3, and last year they had none. And then the person was like, you know why they had none? It's because everything is digital there. Like no one uses paper. People even have, apparently, I've heard like QR codes around their necks and stuff like that. So, moving into the future, and therefore people are trying to regulate stable coins as governments are already trying to digitize what they have. The main goal of the revised bill is to define encrypted assets as commodities and give the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, more power in the spot market and digital asset exchanges. This will enable crypto asset companies to create assets based on custom criteria and be subject to commodity laws. Additionally, stablecoin issuers would be required to be federal or state-level depository institutions and maintain high level of quality liquid assets such as cash, short-term treasury bills, and revised certificates. Basically meaning they can't up and disappear. If you are a stablecoin issuer, you have to make sure that you have money backing the stable coins that you are issuing, so that there's never a situation where the bank goes, oopsie daisy, oh yeah, we had your money, but we gave it away back to ourselves. Now you don't have any more money. Just making sure that they are as regulated as possible so that people, in the event of an issue, can get their money back. I said it before, I'll say it again. I like the idea of these things. However, I live in a more realistic world where the US SEC has made sure not to give cryptocurrency regulation for 14 years. That is a 1 and a 4 years. The idea of something this logical being passed, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because we would have already had something like this. This would have maybe even have been proposed by the SEC. But, corruption and all that stuff. So Cynthia Lummis and Kirsten Gillibrand have been in the news for a number of years now, trying to get this stuff to go through. So I tip my hat to them in their direction. But, it seems relatively futile, because we would have already had proper cryptocurrency regulations if regulators actually, what's the word? Oh, cared. Yeah, that's the word, cared. That's the maybe news. And yeah, let's move on. Also sure, you know what? Why not? You just keep saying stuff. Consensus, the company essentially behind Ethereum, is beginning to onboard partners to their Linea LINEA, I'll say Linea network, which has generated substantial scaling milestones in testing. And this is apparently great news for Ethereum. Over the last 900 or so years within the cryptocurrency space, one of the legends and fables has been that by 2016-17, Ethereum was going to have over 1,000 transaction per second capacity with Ethereum 2.0. If you have been looking at a calendar, you know that that did not take place. We have the generalized framework for Ethereum 2.0. We have the staking, and we have the, what's the other thing? The proof of working. But the other, large component that everyone is waiting for the most used blockchain on the planet is the transaction speed. This is why you hear quite often, and why I keep mentioning that Polygon is essentially the scaling network transactional thing that we've been waiting for, basically that we were promised years ago, and this is in the form of Polygon. Since then, a number of other things have been proposed, put forth, spoken about that would allow Ethereum to have a number of upgrades, allowing them to do tens of thousands of transactions per second. At the moment, none of them have worked per se. They may be out there, they may be usable, but no one's actually using them except for Polygon. If you haven't seen Polygon's list of partners, you are missing out, because they're basically partnered with every single major company on the planet at this point. On top of that, we now are getting news that allegedly, it was supposed to be, I think, by the end of this year, if not now, sometime next year, major upgrades will maybe start happening to Ethereum in that, there we go. and that we'd be able to finally have the upgrade. Sorry, I was looking at the desk and there was a pen there and I forgot how the pen got there, and that shouldn't have confused me that much. Linea is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum that facilitates the creation of and migration to decentralized applications. It uses zero-knowledge proofs and is Ethereum virtual machine compatible. Thus, its applications may contribute or communicate with the Ethereum blockchain without any further development. This news is always nice to see, that people behind the scenes are working on making Ethereum quicker and faster. And it also says, apparently consensus is saying that they'll have 15 times cheaper transactions. It's more of a, we've heard this before, just do it and get it done. I understand that it's not easy. Once again, I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder. It's more of a, when you keep hearing that something's going to happen to a blockchain for 7 or 8 years and you still don't get it, and other upgrades are happening except for what could be argued is one of the most important ones, because you want to, at least in the olden days, for blockchains, you always want to get past the illustrious 30 to 60,000 transactions per second. Why? Because that's what Visa and MasterCard can do. So when your blockchain officially does 30 to 60,000 transactions per second, there is therefore then no need or reason for the largest payment channels that we have on the planet, because then we now have a decentralized one. So yeah, that's the consensus, says that they have something called Linea Network. If this ends up working, it sounds stupid, but we will hear about it. That's how the cryptocurrency space works. We will hear in the news. We will have charts. We will be able to see exactly how cool, fast, awesome, and amazing that it actually is. It's just a matter of it actually happening and working. But still no news on the actual main chain being upgraded. A lot of what we get now is that layer 2 and other side chains will be scaling Ethereum, but I guess we'll get there eventually. That's the Ethereum upgrade news. And yeah, let's move on. Also, this made news, and I think people, not that they don't understand, but it's more of a like we've been through this multiple times. Stablecoins. That's right, stablecoins are an existential threat to policy sovereignty and are only useful to a few countries. This was said by the Reserve Bank of India's Deputy Governor, Ravi Shankar, at an event, according to the local news platform called The Hindu. That is a very, okay, that's the name of a newspaper. Over the years, India has actually slowed down with their cryptocurrency news. Years ago, India regulation cryptocurrency legality news was as popular as Ripple SEC news. You think I'm joking. Do you know why? Can you imagine why? There's a lot of people there. It is alleged now that there are roughly or near 1.5 billion people within India. This is expected to continue rising as it has been doing for a number of millennia at this point. And the idea is that if this country was allowed to legally get into the cryptocurrency space, and even if you said 5 to 10% of these people would enter the market, well, buddy boy, we'd be in a new euphoric phase right now. However, since the end of 2017, India was actually one of the very first countries to say the B word. It's not Bitcoin, it's banned. Crypto's banned. You can't use it. It's terrible. It's awful. We got to get rid of it. It has no purpose here. There were a number of cryptocurrency companies who over the years have been trying to enter into the Indian market. A number of larger Indian cryptocurrency exchanges actually completely collapsed because they had no proper regulation from the government. We would actually hear on a quarterly basis, we're gonna ban cryptocurrencies on the 1st of March. We'd get to like February 25th, and then they'd go, no, cryptocurrencies aren't banned here. We're working on proper framework. We'll have it by June 20th. June 18th rolls around. They're having some kind of like a parliamentary session. It's nowhere to be seen in the parliamentary minutes, like in the actual paper for it. And they're like, you know what? Now we're going to ban it. Cryptocurrency's evil. In September, the ban's going to happen. We get a day before September. They're like, no ban. This is how it worked for a number of years. And because of the potential capacity for how many people that there are in that country who could have potentially entered the cryptocurrency market, this would actually affect prices. The idea that we would have 100 to 150 million people, that is to say roughly 10% of the population who might have entered the cryptocurrency space, of course it moved prices. So the news that we have now is that a number of countries have come forth to state the evil atrocities of stablecoins. And you might sit there and go, well, why do they care about stablecoins? At the moment that we are currently sitting in, not only have a number of countries actually announced that they're trying to make their own central bank digital currencies, a lot of them have evenly announced that they're trying to create their own stablecoins. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you can even find it. Like type in like country making stablecoin. Like they have said the word stablecoin. The other issue is that the vast majority of these coins are actually based on, around, or denominated in the US dollar. And as these coins continue to gain more in power around the world, this is why we keep seeing discussions about regulating stablecoins, because people would, in essence, potentially start using stablecoins over anything else. If you had an idea that your country's national currency, while the US dollar was inflating by 3, 4, 5%, your country's currency is about to inflate by 29%, where you go, cool, I'll go on a crypto exchange, swap my money into a stablecoin, and I'll start using that stablecoin to book hotels and to book flights and to go on vacations and to buy food. Well, that poses a problem for the country that has the terrible fiat currency that's also beginning to hyperinflate. This is the world that we're currently in. Like when you don't understand that we are in the future, like I think you got to like kind of open your eyes and be like, oh, snaps, look at where we are right now, because things are constantly rapidly changing. Given the concerns about stablecoins, central bank digital currencies are better, stable solutions for every country. This was said by the deputy governor. The number 2 at the Indian central bank said that stablecoins are beneficial to economies such as the US and Europe, to whose currencies the stablecoins may be linked. But in a country like India, they could potentially replace the use of the rupee in the local economy, Sankar said. Thanks also in part to the transfer of profits made by the government by issuing currency to private players. India is rapidly trying to digitize everything within their government and within their economy. This is something that you may not have personally heard unless you are looking for constant financial news or watch monetary documentaries like me. India is one of the very few countries right now that is poised to potentially become a gigantic world economy, economic power that could, in 20 to 30 years' time, be large enough with a workforce of 1.9 billion people, push aside the United States as a world, like a gigantic world power. You want to incentivize people to be able to come to your country and to do business and also make tons of money. When you do that, the money that's made is usually kept within your borders to build extra infrastructure and or to give people tax breaks so that they are then more inclined to build homes and houses and buildings and infrastructure, etc., etc., etc. But I think part of the, and I don't know if I can call it irony, but I'm going to call it irony, is that if the Indian central bank years ago had given proper cryptocurrency regulations within their country 7 years ago, India could probably also have had created 3 stablecoins by mega companies within India who based it on the rupee. And you incentivize people within your borders to use it. You tell people crypto is legal. We will put you under the same guidelines as if you were opening up a bank account. But if you so choose to do so, here's a digital version of this so you no longer have to use the paper currency. You're allowing people to do stuff legally. You're not trying to terrify them. You're getting them into this new system. You're also simultaneously digitizing everything. And you're allowing 1.5 billion people the chance to have access to this financial system that you have digitized and you are basing off of your currency. But they did the opposite. Like I said many years ago for Ripple, I said, just leave the United States. I said it for Gemini. I said it for Coinbase. You keep seeing that regulators don't want to regulate. They're so busy trying to keep things the way that they've always been when they still have. The problem is they still have the opportunity to push countries far into the future right now, today, so that the benefits are felt 7 years later, and they refuse to do so because they're so desperate and so terrified of changing anything that's part of the system. For those of you who don't know why people tend to want things to remain the same, it's because they have the power. They don't want to lose the power, or they assume that any change in the system will cause them to lose what power that they have, as opposed to being like, we should make sure that our country thrives. Can you imagine 1.5 billion people having access to the cryptocurrency markets? To stable coins? You think Tether would be the most used stablecoin right now if there was a stablecoin that 1.5 billion other people? You know how many people around the world in the cryptocurrency space would be using a rupee-based stablecoin? If you had 700 million people who were using it, how stable that coin would actually be? And then you find out that they also have a system, much like Tether, where you could get 5 to 6% on your money every single year. You want to know how you incentivize 1.5 billion people to use your stable coin that's tied to the rupee? You give them 5 to 6% guaranteed every single year. You know what they do with that money? They buy houses, they buy farmland, they push that money back into the economy. Everything is so simple. Everything doesn't have to be this convoluted and misconstrued and torn apart and pushed to the side. But alas, yeah, this is where we currently are and probably always will be. You can't complain that the people who are going to benefit are the US and Europe when you've done nothing for 7 years to make sure that you push your country forward. They said, and I quote, "If large stable coins are linked to some other currency, there is a risk of dollarization. We have to be very careful about allowing these sorts of instruments. From the past experience in other countries, it is an existential threat to policy sovereignty." You know how like sometimes you may watch a documentary and it's about something from like 3,000 years ago and they're like, these people used to make their clothing out of rocks and they used sand to make paper and this is what they ate on Wednesday evenings. You're like, wow, how weird and primitive like humans used to be. It's so insane. And then you read the news now and like, you know, in 1,000 years, people are going to laugh at us, right? Like, you know, like, no, I even give it 200 years. They're going to be like, what were those people thinking? What was going on in their minds that this is how they thought that the economy should be run? The air's dirty, so they put more dirt inside of it? Well, that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that's the, countries are, India's not the only one. This is a common theme amongst many other countries around the world who are thinking about launching a central bank digital currency, have no proper cryptocurrency regulations, and are talking about the issues that digital coins, tokens, and or cryptocurrencies might pose to their terrible economic policies. But weird, right? You would assume that, think of that. Right now, these people can change the laws and make sure that things get better for their country. So that by the year 2030, we're like, wow, look at how they changed. Look at what they did to their system, to their economy, to their infrastructure. But we all know that's not going to happen. That's the stable coins are apparently a threat. I'm shocked. I had no idea. Okay. Let's move on. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Jim, did that just say what I thought it said? It said up here, I'm not going crazy. It said Ethereum, what is it called? The pending transactions, 75,000. It says 147,000 pending transactions for Bitcoin. Did you see that? The most I've ever seen was, I think, 33,000 transactions pending for Bitcoin. 147,000? You know what Bitcoin needs? Bitcoin needs its own Polygon. Bitcoin needs a proper scaling solution. That's not good. Jim, American Crypto Academy, Bodie McBoatface, Sam Ratter, Dotha Diddy, Manny Cryptos, Crypto Gambino, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, Jamie Saad, and let's move on. Empire Queen, Roman, Gaba, Bitcoin, Ben Arachno, Dave the Dealers, then Captain Something in the Z-Way, Lay, Mobarazzi, VB Nerd 21, Lauren De Silva, Quoted, Biddy, Troy, All Good, Space Case, Need a Miracle, Pat Turnoster, Navarro Williams, Utopian 569, Moonman High, XRP, Nostromo, John Sarson, The Anima, Rita, Abilbiophobia, Adam Graysick, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Bankroll Network, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Setsuna, Paxis, Jim Gardner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Yes to Crypto, Anytime Fitness, Monk's Corner Staff, Bake Me a Cake, Tigara Macho Nisa, and on Crypto with Lionel. Thank you all very, very much for your support. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel. Thank you to everyone who has left a like, has left a comment, has subscribed, or is a clicker of affiliate links. Yeah, the cryptocurrency space continues to be special more and more every single day. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.